Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ali Gauhar. Now, we haven't seen much sport since the coronavirus gripped the world, and we haven't seen any cricket. But the English Cricket Board is determined to bring cricket back, and that's exactly what they've done. So we're going to discuss the upcoming series that are going to take place with the West Indies and Pakistan in England with my guests. I've been joined by Zainab Abbas online. Zainab, great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Right, Zainab, we're going to discuss the West Indies and the Pakistanis going to England. Our PTV World production team has prepared a special package on that. That will be the snapshot of what Zainab and I are going to discuss in detail. Let's listen in.
England will play 3 tests at home to the West Indies in July, subject to British government clearance to return behind closed doors. The England and Wales board announced on Tuesday the first test will take place at Hampshire from July 8 to 12, with the second and third tests at Old Trafford on July 16 to 20 and July 24 to 28 respectively. The series had been due to take place in June but was delayed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The West Indies, who agreed in principle to take part in the series last week, are due to arrive in England on June 9 and then will be based at Old Trafford for a 3-week period of quarantine and training before travelling down to Southampton. English Cricket Board Director of Events Steve Elworthy said, "Our main objective is to deliver a safe environment for all stakeholders including players, match officials, operational staff, essential venue staff, broadcasters and media. We would like to thank Cricket West Indies for their cooperation and dedication in making this tour a reality, and we all look forward to the prospect of cricket returning in the coming weeks." Apart from that, the National Selection Committee led by Misbah ul Haq will discuss the selection of potential players for the training camp for England tour shortly. According to sources, the probables are likely to be announced for the camp on Wednesday. In all, 18 centrally contracted and emerging players will be invited for the camp. Names of Fawad Alam, Imran Khan, Bilal Asif, Mohammad Musa and Ahmad Butt will be considered. The names of Mohammad Hafiz, Shoaib Malik, Wahab Riaz, Mohammad Amir will also be considered. Misbah has contacted his fellow selectors and they have been directed to prepare the initial names for the training camp that will be held at the National Cricket Academy. It must be mentioned here that the ECB had convinced Pakistan Cricket Board after positive talks over biosecurity arrangements during the tour. ECB proposed to start the series with the first test from August 5 instead of July 30. A squad of 25 players, both for tests and T20s, will arrive in England via chartered plane earlier in July, and players will remain in quarantine for 14 days before going out for training.
Right, so the West Indies will be playing in July and then the Pakistanis will be playing in August. Obviously, they'll be quarantining for some time. They'll be following the English government's rules and guidelines, and they'll be training in a biosecure environment. I have Zainab Abbas, famous cricket presenter, here with me to discuss this. Zainab, we'll discuss this in detail, of course, but just a little bit about what's been going on. I mean, someone like you is used to traveling the world and covering series after series. This has been just so wacky, so weird. We've been, to pass our time, we've been talking to cricketers online. That's how we're generating interest. I mean, did you ever think in a million years that something like this could ever happen?
No, I think that most of us never expected any of this to happen. And, you know, the way it happened actually was, for me at least, it's something that I'll always remember, because I was just going to, you know, I got ready and I was going to Lahore Gaddafi Stadium to, you know, for the semi-final between, I think Karachi was playing, and that was during PSL. So I was just happily, merrily going along. I was like, oh, it's going to be a big game. It's Karachi versus Lahore. And, you know, we were into the playoffs now. And all of a sudden, most of our, you know, foreign commentators and talent hadn't come through to the ground. They were informed home here. So, it's surreal, Ali. I mean, like, I couldn't believe what had happened, and it took us, all of us, a while to get over it. And then the reality really struck all of us at what's going on. And of course, everybody is now aware how the world has changed. And yeah, I mean, it's just about sort of getting used to the new lifestyle and make doing with what you have at this point of time, and, you know, hoping and praying that everyone stays safe.
Absolutely. But on one level, I mean, maybe fun is the wrong word to use, but having live Instagram discussions with famous cricketers talking about World 11s, past performances. I guess that, sometimes looking back is not a bad thing. And as you quite rightly said, I think the cricketing world, everybody really is trying to make the best out of it.
I mean, of course, you have to do something to keep yourself busy and occupied and keep yourself going and keep your mental sanity as well. You can't just be like always thinking negative and thinking about what's happening around, because that can take a toll on you. So, all of us are trying to keep, doing something or the other, engaging ourselves, whether it's live chats or even doing shows from the studio, but having people online. So it's just really a matter of, like I said, it's just being strong in this time, and about being strong in this time, and just kind of being patient, and also understanding how important it is, for health reasons, to be staying at home and not really getting out and mingling with the general public. Something which, like you said, I never thought that the world would actually come to that, but it is what it is, and you just have to get on with it.
You're right. It just happened very suddenly. I was there as well during the PSL, and none of us thought that it would get to this level, but it has, and we have to deal with it. And it's very easy to fall into a negative headspace. But it's great to see that the English Cricket Board is determined to bring cricket back come what may. First, the West Indies have agreed. They're very grateful for the West Indies to have agreed to this. A couple of players have dropped out, of course, but they'll be training in a biosecure environment. They'll be following very, very strict rules and guidelines. Generally, England is very, very strict about their SOPs and leaving your houses. We've seen what's happened to Dominic Cummins, so all the players will be taking this very seriously. But still, Zainab, you can't help but think that it's still going to be really weird. But let's be honest about it.
Of course, I mean, I did one game behind closed doors, and the moment I had to go to the other side of the ground to do an interview. And the moment I got onto the ground and I started walking, making that long walk from one end, to the media. No, sorry, it was from the media center end to the other end where you have all the PCB. I was going to do an interview, a dugout interview there. And as I could hear my footsteps. It was so, like you said, it was so weird, and I didn't really. I was like, I can actually hear myself walking. I mean, that's something that I could never imagine in a ground where there's a live game going on or a PSL game going on. I could never imagine that. In fact, I actually had a conversation with Hafiz while the overs were being changed, because he was standing next to the boundary line. And he turned around and he made a joke about it, saying that, it's full house. Look around, it's a full house and something like that. And I laughed it off. So, I mean, the point being that it was really strange, and I have to say that it was very demotivating as a broadcaster for all of us, because really in a game or in a cricket match, what gets the energy going, or I guess in any sports, are the fans. They make a lot of noise, and the atmosphere, they build the atmosphere. So to have no atmosphere at all, and just reminding myself that this is not a Quaid-e-Azam Trophy game, this is actually a tournament that's happening, was challenging in itself. But we were obviously trying to be professional. But this is what we will be seeing. England won't be seeing any crowd. It is it's just that's just how it is going to be, and there are going to be a lot of SOPs that will need to be followed by everybody. So it's not going to be a walk in the park for whoever is there and a part of that series.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, being in an empty ground, I was there as well. I think it was in Lahore. It was or Karachi. It was Multan versus Peshawar. And it was just so weird when a batsman found the middle of the bat. You could hear the sound so clearly, and even the ball going to a fielder's hand. It was eerie. It was an eerie feeling, and this is probably what we're going to see in July when the West Indies take on England behind closed doors. But Zainab, we have to carry on. I mean, cynics will say that, look, if there's going to be no crowd, we shouldn't have sport or cricket, whatever, in the first place. But I think something needs to be done, and full credit to the ECB for trying to make this happen.
I think full credit to them, but I would say full credit to the Pakistan Cricket Board. I would say full credit to somebody like Wasim Khan, because I know that he's been on top of things for the longest time, and he's been pitching in dates, trying to see what is possible. So it will be really unfortunate, some movement, and there is a positive outlook towards keeping things as they are. And of course, it's not ideal. It's none of us are used to it. But the world also, your life has to go on, and the world has to, the cricketing world, the sporting world has to go on. Remember, we're talking about lots and lots of money involved. You don't want such institutions to be bankrupt, right? Most of the money that they make from television, from the broadcast, all the sponsorships are there, all the ads are there. So all the commercial aspect comes from broadcasting the cricket game, which is still going to happen. Of course, it's not going to have that kind of atmosphere, but at least you'll get some form of sports. I mean, you're not having any sports on TV, and soon we'll have football resuming. So you have to be positive and kind of understand the situation and just move on with it.
Oh, absolutely. And then, of course, I mean, everybody will have to be sitting at home, and we know the West Indies and Pakistan generate a lot of interest. So that's a step in the right direction. But it'll take us time to get used to. A lot of things will be changing. I mean, the having, you're not allowed to put saliva on the ball. I mean, we've been so used to that. There's so many things that cricketers will need to get used to. And initially, it'll be very, very irritating. Cricketers, broadcasters, cameramen, what have you. So I think we need to get through this period, because we have no other choice. There will be initial frustrations, and a lot of people will say, look, it's not worth it. But we have to go through this difficult time. We need to be prepared for that.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me personally, I know that this is a new rule that has been brought in, but I feel like the bowlers are going to be at a disadvantage, because this is one of the things that was part of what made a bowler very exciting. The ability to rough up one side and have the other side shiny, and then get it to reverse swing. As it is a batsman's world. That we've been talking about the evolution of the game and how things have changed, how pitches have changed as well. So this is something that they will have to get accustomed to. But I don't know, maybe they need to look at other ways of making it, if not using and making it shine in some other way possible. But again, this is a very gray area, so to speak. If it's not defined, then what is okay, what is not okay. There are so many questions that are involved, and I think we'll have to kind of wait and see how it pans out in the Test series between West Indies and England.
Yeah, we'll understand a lot more when that Test series take place. They'll be playing 3 Test matches, 1 in Hampshire, and I think 2 at Old Trafford. And as I said before, the West Indies, they always generate excitement. They've got some wonderfully talented players loaded with flair. But I think it's safe to say that England are the favourites for that series. But against Pakistan, it'll be interesting, because Pakistan of late have done well in England. They drew in 2016, and then again they drew in 2018 or 2019. I think Sarfaraz was captain when they won at Lords. So it'll make for very, very interesting viewing, this Pakistan-England Test series. And they've called in, Fawad Alam is still there in the Test squad. It'll be interesting to see if he gets a game. Young Musa is being talked about, as well as the tall off spinner Bilal Asif. So it'll be an interesting series nonetheless.
I think Pakistan in England is always an interesting series. If there's any place where Pakistan has done reasonably well in this format of the game, it's England. And the reason is the conditions, they definitely suit our bowlers. Our bowlers are primarily seam and swing bowlers. So along with having pace, it helps to be able to make the ball talk. So if you look at traditionally, you need 20 wickets to win a test match. And if you look at traditionally, Pakistan has won. Of course, they've scored runs as well, but they've won at the back of their bowling. Their bowlers have had the ability to take 20 wickets. So if you look back at the 2016 series, you had somebody like Misbah ul Haq scoring a century in the first test match at Lords. Then you had Yunus Khan, who was another backbone of the team in the last test coming through. And in between, you had the likes of Yasir Shah and Mohammad Amir taking wickets. So it was really about the combination at that point. And then in 2018, I happened to cover both the series, luckily enough. But in 2018, the team was slightly different. You had the introduction of somebody like Mohammad Abbas, who was incredible, who was just incredible at the Lords. He was well supported by Amir. The only thing that I would say is that what is going to be the makeup of our bowling side this time, because we have a lot of young and inexperienced fast bowlers at this point of time. So as you know, Wahab and Amir are no longer playing test cricket. Amir was somebody who used to really control the run rate from one end, and he was very economical. Even if he wasn't taking wickets, he never used to leak runs. And I feel like we are going to miss him in that regard, because he is really somebody who can control the ball well. So then it really comes down to Shaheen Shah Afridi, and Mohammad Abbas is of course there. Also, Ali, let's not forget about the fact that our players have not played cricket in a fairly long time. I mean, they've been relatively inactive. So going from that zone into a proper test match is going to be a challenge. So, and then there's that other thing about the pitches. How are they going to play? So, there are lots and lots of factors that are involved in an England tour, and that's what makes it so exciting. And also the fact that Pakistan is going to take some confidence from the fact that they can do well in England. It's not a South Africa where it's impossible to play the pace and bounce. In England, once you see off the new ball, you have the ability to score. There are pitches that turn on the third day, on the fourth day. And if you do pile on the runs, you do have a good chance to win. So
Zainab,
I'm looking forward to it.
You make an interesting point there. Our boys haven't played in a while, and England would have had decent practice against the West Indies, playing 3 test matches, getting used to the protocols, the new environment. And let's also bear in mind, one of the reasons why I think at least that Pakistan have done well in England in white ball cricket and in red ball cricket is because they have massive crowd support. There's going to be no crowd, so I think that will also add to their disadvantages.
Yeah, I mean, you get really encouraged and motivated when you can hear, lots of Pakistani supporters in the crowd. When it comes to England, you'll always have people turn up. I remember at Lords in 2016 when Pakistan won, and even 2018, I think it was a Sunday, and it was like a full house. And I just went downstairs to get something. I went off the media center to get something. And I bumped into so many Pakistanis over there, because I literally thought I was like, I'm in mini Pakistan or something. So Pakistan has a fair amount of support.
You mentioned 2016. I was there at Lords as well when Misbah made that 100. And even the 2009 World Cup, I was in university, and it was the semi-final between Pakistan and South Africa. I'm sure you remember that. And that's when it really hit me how many Pakistanis over there, British Asians, they love cricket. They are obsessed, probably more than we are. I remember I was on a train going from Brighton to London, and there was a couple of Pakistanis on the train, and they were so excited, like, "Yeah, bro, man, Syed Afridi's batting so well in it." Like they knew exactly what was going on. So the love and passion for the game that they have, the Pakistani British community, I think that's one of the core reasons why we've done so well there, and not as well perhaps in Australia, South Africa. There are other reasons as well, of course. It's not just that one thing. But one of the main reasons is because of the massive crowd support, the massive fan following.
Yeah, and the thing is, I feel like our overseas Pakistanis or the Pakistanis that are settled in England, this is the closest they can be to home by watching a game of cricket and supporting their team. So, we talk about some of them are super duper patriotic. Every time I speak to them, they're so passionate about the sport. They're so passionate about our players. And you ask, I can tell you for a fact that I'm pretty sure that I won't be wrong when I say that you ask players which is their favorite place to play cricket in, and they will say England. So it's a combination of all these reasons. So yeah, it's unfortunate that we won't have any crowd. I'm certainly going to miss the crowd, but I'm also hopeful that considering this goes through, at least we'll have some sport. At least we'll have some cricket on. We won't be deprived in that way. So it's you have to take it step by step. Yeah.
No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You have to take it step by step, and we have to start again. We just have to get moving. I mean, we're talking about cricket now and starting cricket, just everyday life, going back to work. I mean, this is my second show since COVID, and I'm even now trying to get used to it, even talking to you through Skype. I mean, usually I have a guest here. This is something I have to get used to, and it's just one of those things really that we'll have to, we all need to adapt. I'm sure it'll be difficult for you initially as well. But just coming back to this situation, we're talking about England and the test series that will be played there between the West Indies and Pakistan. The World Cup, the T20 World Cup is in question. All decisions have been deferred till June the 10th. The T20 World Cup is likely to be postponed. Now, Zainab, it's one thing not having a crowd when a test match is being played. It's unfortunate, but that's become the reality over the last 5 or 6 years. But to not have a crowd during a World Cup, a T20 World Cup especially, yeah, I find that a little bit difficult. Then I don't see it happening.
It's going to be very difficult. From what I have heard, it's going to be probably postponed to next year. Next year there's meant to be another World T20. So the ICC has a lot of things on their plate at the moment to look at, and I honestly feel that having a tournament like the World Cup without a crowd is pointless, and it might work for you or me or people who are in the media, because we can still go and cover it and be a part of teams, but it just brings the quality of the tournament down. I mean, everything about a World Cup, I would say maybe 60% is about the color that people add to the game, the crowd, the energy, the passion, and then logistically it's going to be a nightmare for them. Imagine having 8-10 teams at the same time. How are they going to manage have all these SOPs in place? How are they going to travel intercity? It's not that easy. Holding a tournament in such an environment is not easy. So I doubt that it's going to happen. And if you ask me, I would rather have it delayed than have a tournament without a crowd. I mean, that's at least what I think about the World Cup. I mean, as much as I was looking forward to it, I was looking forward to the T20 World Cup, because Pakistan has at least it's a format that we have enjoyed being a part of. So I was looking forward to it, but it's not going to be fun without the crowds coming in. And logistically, like I said, there are lots of precautions, lots of SOPs, and lots of other things that they'll have to look at.
We can discuss all this really, Zainab, but let's be honest, till we're blue in the face. But the reality is we just don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen in the next few months or the next few days. We're in the dark here. So it's just so frustrating that there's no clarity. Yes, we're getting a little bit of clarity with the West Indies and Pakistan series. But other than that, I mean, these are very frustrating times. I mean, as I said, we can talk about this, but we just don't know what's going to happen. And I kept saying to you, we have to adapt, to adapt. And of course we do, but what do we adapt to? We don't even know what's coming in. We don't even know what's coming up.
I don't know. I mean, of course, I'm not a corona expert, so to speak, or a COVID expert or a doctor. But what I can say is, at least in my opinion, I think until they develop a vaccine, I don't see things normalizing completely, because this COVID, the way I look at it, is here to stay. We're talking about managing its levels. So it might be that the levels have gone down or the levels have gone up, or some people have suffered through this COVID situation or have been positive in terms of corona and have gotten out of it. Because from what we are hearing is that you cannot have it the second time. Once you do have it, I think this is one of the theories that I'm hearing, is that you can't have it the second time. So there is a lot of theories and lots of research around it. And I personally feel unless the vaccine is developed, it's going to be people will be having cricket, but it will be under different circumstances. So I don't think it's going to be. If you think that things are going to be normal the way they were a couple of months back, it's not going to happen. It's definitely not going to happen. So just sit back and relax, and sit at home, spend time with your family. Do whatever you can, like do a bit of your work. And I understand that it can get very frustrating. I mean, I know that so many people are at this point of time very demotivated. Whoever's probably watching and listening to us would understand that as well. And that happens with me as well. Like I wake up some of the days and I'm just like, oh my God, this is just so monotonous and this is just so boring, and there's nothing happening around, and I can't leave the house, I can't do anything. So you have to find ways to keep your sanity. I mean, one of the things is I would definitely say, like, work out. I mean, it takes 2 hours out of your day, so it's a way.
You're telling me I haven't been to the gym in 2 months. I'm dying. Literally, I haven't been to the gym in 2 months. It's not the same working out at home.
Grab some dumbbells and start doing them at home. Go on your balcony, go outside and do something. Otherwise, it's going to be really difficult. If people are used to working out, then it becomes very difficult for them. So put yourself into doing it, because that's the only way I have actually kept my sanity, because it takes a long part of your day, right? Like you're changing into your gym wear and then you're going out and you're doing a whole routine and then you're taking a shower. So it's a way of positively killing your time, right? So just don't sit back and think, oh, what's happening around me, because that does happen with me as well. But like I said, I try and keep myself busy. Like I'm doing something or the other, whether it's a live chat or if it's not a chat, then doing something at home. I know a lot of people have become pro bakers and pro chefs, so I'm into that. So point being that we cannot let the situation, overpower us. It is what it is. And let's just hope, I think the world will adapt as in how the situation changes, the world will adapt as well. So we will start hearing things, in the next few months, because, I mean, at least things are changing by the minute, right? That's what's happening right now, because you're finding out that, okay, the rates have gone down and things are settling down. Then all of a sudden, post-Eid, a lot of people I know were, COVID positive. I mean, a lot of people, in the sense that a lot of people I know of who potentially met at Eid were COVID positive. So there's no escape from it. That's the thing. That's the problem. There is no escape.
You have a very positive outlook and you're very active. I understand your brother's a personal trainer, so that probably helps you. I've just been at home cooking pasta with extra cheese and extra heavy cream, so I've just been putting on the pounds. But anyway, good for you, Zainab, and this will help me and I hope a lot of people, how you've dealt with the lockdown. Now, Zainab, given that all this is happening, how do we keep up the interest of people? How do we maintain that? Because if we're not getting a lot of cricket, and if we are, it's behind closed doors. How do we maintain or keep people's interest? I know people like you, as we've discussed, you've been doing lots of live chats with top cricketers. Cricketers have been, like Shane Warne is making his World 11s. So that's all really, that's interesting, but that can only go so far, right?
Yeah.
So have you, when you've been sitting at home, just relaxing, have you thought of ways of how we can continue to make cricket interesting? To keep the viewers engaged?
Well, the first thing is that it has to resume in whatever way possible, because how long can you hold back onto the historical memories? I mean, when this situation happened, I know every other person was doing something online. And I can tell you that that has actually gone down. I mean, the rate at which it was happening, it has certainly gone down. The reason is people are sick of doing that as well. I mean, for how long can you be calling up cricketers or calling up people and asking them to be doing an online thing with you and talking about things that are from the past, right? Because like I said, there's no current cricket happening. So, I mean, you have to keep on finding ways to sort of keep yourself entertained, and it doesn't have to be necessarily cricket related. But as far as the cricket is concerned, yes, you will have to wait it out, and I feel like at least once there is live cricket happening, there'll be some more interest generated, because every day is a new day. Fine, you don't have the crowds there, but an England and Pakistan cricket test series is still going to be interesting. The pitches are going to be interesting. The balance of the sides is going to be interesting. Everything is going to be interesting. Pakistan is going to be tested out there. So a true cricket fan will still enjoy it. Somebody who's a purist, somebody who enjoys cricket, test cricket. Actually, right now I feel like, because of the fact that most people are restricted at home, regardless of the fact whether they are test cricket lovers or not, I feel they will still, they will still tune in and still watch it, and probably that's the only thing that's going to be talked about, because there's nothing else happening around us. So yeah, you have to look at it positively and just sort of go with the flow.
Just a couple of more things, Zainab. You mentioned the PCB, how they've done a fantastic job. Wasim Khan is being very active in trying to get things moving. Some crucial appointments have been made as well. Saqlain Mushtaq, Bradburn is there as well, and Asar Malik there. He's the operational manager, I believe, and they've been appointed in the High Performance Center, have Saqlain Mushtaq and Bradburn. So it's good to see that during this time that the PCB have been very active, and that's one of the things that Wasim Khan has done. I believe he's made things a lot more professional, less bureaucratic. So I think this is something that we need to acknowledge as well.
Absolutely. I think that, he's done a great job so far. So it's not easy coming into this part of the world and trying to work things out and, deal with all the politics in the organization, and also make strong and brave decisions. I think this is a move in the right direction, having Bradburn, because that is what his forte is, by the way. I mean, he was our fielding coach, but let me tell you that this is something he specializes in. And I have had a few chats with him where he was very structured. I mean, I saw some of his paperwork when it comes to fielding, regardless of what the consequences have been. But like, at least you're talking about a preparation of, somebody who's very skillful in his particular, field. So I feel he's very skillful with what he does. And, he's now going to be heading the High Performance Center at the NCA, which is so important, because how many times have you gone to the NCA and thought, oh my God, it really needs a reform. This is not a center of excellence at all. Like, you go around the world and you see what kind of academies they have. And then you see the NCA. There is absolutely, there's no comparison. So you needed somebody who had experience to put in a structure where you develop players. And this is a strong team. Obviously, Saqlain is there. Saqlain is somebody who's, everybody knows, the world knows Saqlain Mushtaq and what he's capable of. He's been part of various teams as well as, a spinning coach, and what everybody knows what he can bring to the table. Then there is a young mind like Asar. He's been, managing the sports management company, and he's also been part of Multan Sultan. So I feel like the combination is good, and let's hope that at some point, we see the results as well. It will take a while, but it's a step in the right direction.
Zainab, during the PSL, and I'm not sure it's just Wasim Khan's doing, but I think he has a huge role to play. What I saw during the Pakistan Super League, what I hadn't seen before, is that there were a lot of young people there working in key positions, like Asar Malik. I met him during the Multan Sultan games. and then there were others there as well, working in very important positions, because before you just saw these, outdated fossils, walking around, not really doing much. But so it's good to see that, someone like Wasim Khan and his team have made it a point to bring young people to the fore. I think that's very, very important, because eventually, look, at some stage, we all have to bow out. You and I at some point are going to have to bow out. So I think in that respect, Wasim Khan has done an excellent job.
Yeah, I mean, you see, he was very clear from the beginning. I mean, of course, you've got Ehsan Mani Saab, who deserves all the credit, because remember, he is the chairman. The eventual approval does come through him. But he trusted Wasim in making certain decisions. And once he came into the organization and understood the setup and what it's lacking, one of the things was young energy. I mean, why is it that we have, like you rightly put it, old fossils working in the board? Why don't we have young, passionate cricket lovers? And I
said
that,
outdated fossils, but old is also works. Old works.
Old fossils is also fine. I mean, it's the same thing. But like, you've got Shoaib Naveed, you've got Imran, you've got like all these young guys who are part of the marketing team. Then you need that. At the end of the day, the groundwork is done by these young people. Innovation comes from young minds. It doesn't come from outdated fossils. So, so I think these are all the right changes when it comes to structurally, the board-wise. So let's see. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it works out well.
Zainab, before we go, just one thing I want to mention, I wanted to bring this up. We all know what's happening in the United States. The killing of an innocent black man by a police officer, George Floyd, was murdered in Minneapolis. And I bring this up because a number of West Indian cricketers and cricketers around the world have tweeted. And there you see Darren Sammy's tweet there, and Carlos Brathwaite as well, Dwayne Bravo. They've all expressed their concern and outrage over the incident. And I bring this up because racism is everywhere. And we've even seen it happening in cricket. It's in football the most, I guess, but in cricket, Jofra Archer was racially abused in New Zealand. We can also talk of religious discrimination. Moeen Ali claimed that someone called him Osama on the cricket field. So I think it's very important that we're aware of this. And the West Indian cricketers, I mean, over the years, they've experienced a lot of racism when they first started cricket. Their first captain was a white man, we know that. So they've had to go through a lot, which is why we're seeing the West Indian cricketers mainly expressing so much concern. That's why we see them raising their voices in this manner.
Yeah, we've seen that even in sport, like he rightly pointed out and gave a few examples, whether it's religion, whether it's race, whether it's your ethnicity. I just feel that there should be no discrimination. I mean, let's talk about, just sports specifically. You're out there to play cricket. It does not matter what the color of your skin is or where you come from. At the end of the day, when you're out there on the cricket field, everybody is equal. And that's the way I look at it. I mean, this whole, of course, it's very tragic and it's very unfortunate that we've had to witness something like that. But again, this is something that has gone on for centuries. This is not a new phenomena that we are coming across. In this particular case, the action was extremely harsh and it resulted in all these kind of riots and protests. But I feel like, we need to be beyond that. As people, we need to be beyond that as people, and we need to understand the importance of equality. And, something that goes, it doesn't matter what your color is. It really is down to what kind of a person you are. That's the thing is the most. So the treatment should never be on the basis of this, So I feel the same way about sports as well. Like I have, at least my view has been so, I don't know whether it was because of the fact, I'm sure you've also experienced that, we've worked with all kinds of people, we've been around all kinds of people, so it doesn't really matter. When you go into a university abroad, it's not that you're going to see one particular kind of individual out there. There'll be all kinds of individuals, and you mingle with all of them, and you become friends with some of them. And it never has to do with, oh, you're from here, or this is your ethnicity, or this is your race. It's always about, what kind of people they are. So I think it's time we move beyond that.
Zainab Abbas, it was a pleasure speaking to you. We spoke on cricket, and now at the end, what the West Indian cricketers had to say about George Floyd and how we shouldn't see racism anywhere in the world. Overall, it was a wonderful discussion. I know these are very difficult times. You gave us some very positive messages. I'll try and follow them, and I'm sure everybody else will try as well. Zainab, thank you very much for joining us.
Stop having the pasta and get on the treadmill.
I'm going to try. It's hard, it's hard to break that fat. Once you stop exercising, by the way, it's very hard to get back into it. It's not that easy.
All right.
Thank you very much, Zainab Abbas.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you.
That's all we have time for. Keep watching Sports Extra on PTV World. See you next time. Bye-bye.